Hi everyone, welcome to my chess rating climb where I play a game of chess every day and track my progress. Let's get into it. Alright, so we're playing a 15-minute game and we have the white pieces against Shushanta Ba from India. And we'll start with e4. Okay, so just like yesterday we got the king's pawn opening. And let's go into a Scotch, and if they take here, we're going to play the Scotch Gambit. So the fact that they're pausing here means that they might not be familiar with the Scotch Gambit line. But we do eventually win this pawn back, and in this case they don't even bother protecting the pawn again, so we can just go ahead and snap it off with the knight. And I'll go ahead and pre-move the take back with the queen. Interesting. Huh. I can't actually say I've ever seen that move before. I have never ever seen that. This is a complete novelty for me. Okay. So what are we going to do here? I can either develop my knight to d2 to protect the bishop. I can develop my queen to e2 to protect the bishop. I can just slide my bishop back. Huh. No one ever actually plays that move. That's really weird. Okay. So the question is, do I want to develop a piece and essentially have him waste a tempo capturing my bishop? Or do I want to maintain my bishop pair? Or actually, do I have a sacrifice here? Can I sacrifice my bishop on the f7 square and then target it with the queen? Probably not, because well, first of all, the knight's protecting the f7 square, but even if it weren't, the knight's also protected by the d pawn, so that's not going to work. Okay. That's really interesting. Okay, I think the correct move is just to protect my bishop with the queen. Number one, because it x-rays the king. Number two, because it develops a piece and defends another piece. And number three, if he goes to take the bishop, I have 1, 2, 3 pieces developed and he only has a single pawn. So yeah, let's go ahead and protect it with the queen. Okay. That seems like a bit of an inaccuracy as well, because now I can just push my f-pawn and create this pawn chain here to kick the bishop back, and checking with the queen doesn't even work because then I just block with my other pawn and he has two pieces hanging and I can't save both of them. Yeah, this is a very unconventional opening. Okay. So, I think now, I kind of just want to develop my knight and bishop and castle queenside. Yeah, so let's go ahead and develop the knight here, and on the next turn, maybe we can force the issue by attacking his knight with our bishop. I don't know, this is really weird. I'll definitely have to consult the review about this knight move, because I've literally never seen that move in response to the Scotch Gambit. Never in my life. Okay. So, now, we actually have quite a juicy target for our bishop, because now if I pin the knight with my bishop, I can castle on the next turn. He's probably going to break the pin with his bishop so that he can castle. But after that, we can kind of launch a kingside attack and just harass these knights all over the place. Yeah, I'm liking that. Okay. I suspect bishop e7 is coming, and then we'll castle. Interesting. He's wanting to stop my knight from moving to d5. That's why he did that. But that looks like it's creating some weaknesses. Like, it's looking like I'll be able to attack the D pawn at some point. Yeah, so that looks really good. I can go ahead and castle. That way my rook x-rays this this D file here. Okay. So he's launching a queenside attack. I don't think I'm really scared of that, though. Because... Okay, let's see. Hang on. Let's think about this. If I move my knight to f5, and he takes with the bishop, and I take here, that allows my queen to x-ray his king. And if he doesn't take, that adds a really big weakness to his d-pawn. So I think either way, I'm looking good in that scenario. Okay. Alternatively, he could push his d-pawn, but that just allows me to open up everything and eye my rook on his queen. So yeah, that looks really good. Okay, let's move our knight here. So at this point, my goal is to either attack this weak d-pawn or attack this knight that may or may not be pinned to the king at some point. Okay. So he adds a defender to his pawn and also alleviates the pin. Let's see, do I have a tactic to win some material here? Well, I mean, first of all, I could just add more pressure to the pawn by sliding my queen over, but then if I do that, it drops my bishop, so I can't do that. So if I wanted to add more pressure to the pawn with my queen, I would have to move my bishop first. Okay. Surely I have a tactic to win material at some point. Let's see. Okay, actually, you know what I think I need to do? I think I need to kick this knight out of the way, force the issue, have him take my bishop, and open up lines to the king. Yeah, let's do that. Let's go ahead and kick this knight out. Okay, so he takes my bishop with the knight. Okay. So now, it wouldn't surprise me if he forms this pawn chain here, but honestly, I'm really okay with that because... Oh, I actually didn't see that move. I think I'm okay with that, though. I mean, it's not like attacking my queen accomplishes anything, because now I can just add another attacker to this pawn. And if he pushes the pawn, that's good for me too, because that opens up the king before he's castled. Yeah, so, I mean, all I gotta do is slide my king over here, or my queen, excuse me, and I should be fine. Oh, real quick though, actually definitely worth noting that if he pushes his pawn to d5, I actually can't take the pawn with my pawn because then it drops the defense of my knight. So I would have to move my knight first if I did that. I'd probably move my knight to e3. Let's see, what if he castles here? If he long castles, puts his rook on the same file as my queen, would there be any merit to queen a7? I mean, probably not. Because it's not like his king would be in any danger. And if I gave another check, he could either block with his queen or move his king out of the way and threaten my queen with his rook. It would threaten his A pawn. I don't know. We'll definitely have to see what black is going to do here. This is definitely a very unconventional opening. I've never been in anything quite like this position before. Okay, so he does take my knight. I mean, I think I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that because as soon as I take back with my pawn, I mean, his king is open. And now all I have to do is bring my rook to the e-file. Okay, that just drops a pawn, doesn't it? I mean, that does just drop a pawn, right? Take the knight with my bishop. He takes back, I take back with the queen. Okay, so let's think. I actually think I'm winning multiple pawns. Because if I take the knight, he takes back, I take with the queen, I'm hitting his rook. No, I'm only winning one pawn in that scenario. But even still, this seems like it's a really good position for me. So that does just look like a free pawn. He has to move his rook out of the way. Or alternatively, he could have moved his bishop as well. He could have moved his bishop here to e7. But then that would have dropped his f-pawn, so yeah, I do think he had to move his rook. Okay, so now, is there any reason not to just form a pawn chain? Yeah, I'll just play g3, form a pawn chain. Yep, that doesn't surprise me. Okay, so I really only have one good move here. Oh yuck, my queen is kind of offsides, isn't it? Yeah, the only square I can move my queen to is h4. Any other square either gets captured by the bishop or walks into a revealed attack from the rook. So, yeah, h4 it is for the queen. Okay, so I am threatening the h-pawn, and he does take my knight, so I'll go ahead and take back. Yeah, my pawn structure is not looking great right now. I am up a pawn, but I think this is still a pretty even game because my queen is kind of offsides right now. And I have two sets of doubled pawns to his 0. Okay, so I think the next idea is to bring my rook to the e-file and then offer a trade of queens. Just because if we can trade queens, this does seem like a winning rook and pawn endgame, but I need to get the queens off the board to cut down on any attack that he's going to have in the future. Okay. Alright, so he's going after my f-pawn, but I don't think that works. Yeah, I don't think that works because... Well, no, let's see. I was about to say, if I take his h-pawn with my queen, that simultaneously takes his pawn and also defends my pawn, but that's still just an even exchange, and the reason for that is because if I take his h-pawn, he threatens my queen with the rook, and then I have to move my queen somewhere outside of the defense of the f-pawn. Okay. I do think I should go ahead and take this f-pawn, though. Because, oh, yeah. So, and the reason is because after I take his h-pawn, he takes my f-pawn, he threatens with the rook, I slide my queen over, I'll be able to maneuver my queen around either here or here to threaten his d-pawn as well. So yeah, let's go ahead and take the h-pawn. Yep, that's to be expected. Only one move. Yep, I saw that coming too. Alright, so now, this is something I actually didn't consider before. In order to move my rook over, I have to defend my h-pawn first. Okay, so how are we going to do this? Oh, you know what I can do? I can actually go ahead and take his d-pawn. I actually didn't realize that when I was calculating this line, but I can take his d pawn because his rook is overloaded. Yeah, his rook is overloaded. So if he takes my rook, I take his rook with check. So yeah, I can go ahead and do that. And then on the next move, I might be able to put my rook and my queen on the same rank and offer a queen trade while being up 2 pawns, which looks really good for me. Or alternatively, I might be able to slide my rook over and attack his queen. We'll have to see what he does here. Okay. So he attacks my queen. Okay, so I'm definitely going to offer a queen trade, that's for sure. But the question is, do I offer the queen trade on f6 or e5? If I offer it on f6, I take back with the rook. If I offer it on f5, I take back with the pawn. You know, if this pawn were on a different file, like let's say the pawn were on, I don't know, the G file, I would definitely offer the queen trade here on e5 because once I take back it would create a passed pawn, but since taking back with this pawn doesn't create a passed pawn, I'm more inclined to move my queen to the same rank as the rook and offer a trade with the queen, taking back with the rook. Something else I did just notice though is that in order to protect my h-pawn... Oh yeah, now that's a good move. Okay, yeah. So I was about to say, in order to protect my h-pawn, normally I could just move it up 2 spaces, but then that would drop my g-pawn, right? But here, he's threatening my rook, but if I move my rook and drop my h-pawn, is that really much of a problem? Because if I move my rook to the d file, he can't take my h-pawn because I then have 3 pieces lining up on his king here. So yeah, that actually doesn't work. Okay, yeah, I'm going to move my rook over to the d file, and he can't take my h-pawn because he needs to maintain defense of this d8 square. Okay. So now, I can force a rook trade. And the question is, after I move my rook up, and he takes with his rook, do I take with my rook or do I take with my queen? I think I take with my rook, because after the king moves over, I then... Oh, I was about to say I then win his f-pawn, but no I don't, because he also has a queen and a rook pointing toward my pawn. Okay. So I am definitely going to trade rooks here. But then after I do, it'll definitely be a matter of... Oh, so he didn't even... What? Okay. He didn't take my rook with his rook. That's really interesting. I mean, obviously, I can't take his rook, even though he ostensibly left it hanging. I can't take it because he's threatening mate in 1. Okay? However, I mean, I can just offer a queen trade, right? No, I can't offer a queen trade, because if I do that, he takes my queen, I take his queen, then he takes my rook. Okay, I can't do that. Interesting. I mean, I can take this pawn with check, right? There's nothing wrong with that. In fact, depending on where his king goes, I might have a mating attack. But he is threatening mate in 1, so I have to be careful. Okay, so now, he's still threatening checkmate, so I still can't take his rook. But I can... Okay, yeah, let's do this. I can deliver a check with queen b3, defending checkmate, and also attacking his king, allowing me to take his rook on the next turn. Yep, that's the plan. Okay, so we found out how to defend against mate and also take his rook. The question is, instead of taking his rook, is there a way to continue the checkmate attack? I don't think so, because he's obviously going to move his king. Oh, he just resigned. Okay, so he saw the writing on the wall. He saw that I would be able to take his rook on the next turn. But yeah, I don't think there was a way to continue the mating attack without just taking the rook, because obviously he would have moved his king to a7, and there's no follow-up checks in that position. But even still, I do think that being up 2 pawns and a rook would have been enough to win this game. Okay, so let's go and review. Okay, let's see what we got here. Okay, interesting. So I had a pretty big advantage the entire time. Or, sorry, that's not what I meant to say. I didn't have a big advantage the entire time, but I had a consistent advantage. But there was one point right here where I sort of gave up my lead, and then my opponent blundered, and I didn't let him take it back. And there was a point right here where I made a mistake and gave a lot of my advantage back to my opponent to make it a more even game. But, I don't know, we'll have to see where that was. It doesn't look like it was a very accurate game, only 78. Okay, so let's see what we got here. Okay, yeah, so what does the computer recommend for that knight move? I've literally never seen that before. Okay, so the computer just wants me to drop my bishop back. Interesting. Now, I would have guessed that if it wanted me to drop my bishop back, it would have been to b3 to maintain the side of black's f-pawn. Okay, so we just continue to develop. And black has to move his knight again. Okay. Yeah, that is a really weird move. I'm not really sure the idea behind moving my bishop to e2 in particular. I don't know. I'll definitely have to ask my coach about that, but yeah, that is a really unconventional knight move. Okay. Yeah, so creating the pawn chain was best. Perfect. Okay. Okay, so that was a miss. Yeah, this right here was the was kind of the most important part of the game, was trying to find a plan here. So here's the thing. I wanted to kick this knight out, but I think I did it a turn too late. So if I had done that, he could take. Oh, really? It doesn't want me to take back right away. Okay, so yeah, so let's analyze this a little bit. If he takes my bishop, I push here. He takes. I take. We're pressuring his knight. And he obviously can't move the knight, so he's down a piece, so he has to sacrifice this knight. Obviously take back with the queen. Okay. Now, what's the piece count? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, so the piece count is even, and black's even up a pawn, but it's still really advantage for white here. Okay, he blocks with the queen. Okay, and then we go into like a big stockfish line. Okay, all right, so fair enough. So basically the computer was wanting me to just open up lines to the king before he castled. Okay, and if I push the pawn here, there's no way to save his piece, basically. So instead of taking back immediately, it just wanted me to go after this knight instead of this one. Okay, so fair enough. Okay, so still wanted me to, or still wanted black to trade his knight for his bishop. Okay. Now, in this scenario, it's calling that a miss, even though that's what it wanted me to do a turn earlier. Okay, so I guess the computer is just really prioritizing the bishop pair, and it just doesn't want me to trade it off. Okay, so if I move here, take, he has to castle, or he has to move his king out of the way, otherwise I win his knight by attacking it with a pawn. Okay, and the game goes on. So, yeah, the computer's just really wanting me to prioritize the bishop here, I guess. Okay, and there was the blunder. But why is that a blunder, though? This move gives you the opportunity to win their pawn. Okay, so how does that win a pawn, exactly? Take. Okay, so it wanted me to take the knight instead. Move the bishop. Okay, so if he saves his bishop, then I win this pawn. Okay, fair enough. And if he doesn't save his bishop, if he just takes my bishop instead, then I still win his pawn. And then he saves his bishop here. I take the rook, he takes my rook. Okay, so it's all just an even exchange except I'm up a pawn in this line. Okay. Yeah, so here's the deal. This problem happened in yesterday's game as well. I need to get out of the mindset that just because you capture a piece, the opponent has to capture back. Right? Like if multiple pieces are if multiple pieces are under threat, if he takes my knight, there's no particular reason that I have to take back this bishop. If there's another piece that's being attacked, I can take that one as well. Right? And in this scenario, I'm up a pawn as opposed to just taking back the bishop. So yeah, I definitely see how that was a miss, but I just need to remember in the future, I need to get out of the mindset of always taking back the piece if there's another more powerful move that I can make instead. Okay. So moving on. Yeah, that was a miss because then that drops a pawn. Oh, wait a minute, what? Okay, yeah, I see. So winning that pawn was a miss, and the reason for that is because this knight is pinned to the rook, right? This knight's pinned to the rook with the bishop, so I can just add more pressure to the piece and centralize my knight. Okay. Yeah, so I definitely see that. But I do win a pawn here, and I am slightly advantaged. Okay, so creating that pawn chain was best, good. The queen move was best. Okay. Yep. Okay, good. So I'm really glad that I recognized that this rook was overloaded and I can take that pawn. And that was the best move. Okay. Yeah, it just wanted me to create the battery. I wouldn't say that's necessarily a mistake. I think creating the battery is more of a computer move, but I think a more human move is to offer a trade of queens when you're already on material. Okay. So the computer actually wanted the queen trade. Oh, that's why it was a mistake. Okay. Yeah. So if the computer trades queens, then my h-pawn is actually pinned to my rook. So he actually wins a pawn in that line. That's why it was a mistake, because it drops a pawn. Okay. I am still winning, I think. It's still +1 in the evaluation, but yeah, I see how dropping a pawn was a mistake in that scenario. Okay. But he doesn't trade queens. I double up. And yeah, I think that right there was his game-losing mistake, taking that pawn. Because now I can just harass his king. And yeah, then we had the tactic to win the rook. Okay, perfect. All right. Well, thanks everyone for joining me in my day 2 of the rating climb, and I'll see you all tomorrow. Bye, everyone.